Hello, Archie Dunlop here with Talking Astrology with Archie, and it is Saturday, October the 28th, 2023. And in this video, I want to look at the astrology and the I Ching for the week starting on Monday, October the 30th, 2023, which runs through until Sunday, November the 5th, 2023. So just to give you an idea about how this video is going to be structured, I'm going to start by looking at the astrology for the coming week, for the week starting on October the 30th, 2023. I'm just going to be looking at the main features for this week. It's just going to be stuff that catches my attention. I'm not going to go into incredible detail, and I'm not going to do any forecasts for the 12 signs. And when I've done that, I'm going to do an I Ching reading where I'm going to ask what the week is going to be like for people watching this video. So it's going to be very simple. And this video shouldn't really last too long. So let's start with the astrology for the week ahead, for the week starting on Monday, October the 30th. Okay. Now, you can see up there is a picture of Mitch McConnell. Reason I've got a picture of Mitch McConnell up there is because he's a Pisces, and I think there's stuff going on right now which might be impacting him. Now, just to remind you of who Mitch McConnell is, he's the minority leader of the Senate Minority Leader. In other words, he's leader of the Republicans in the Senate. He's quite an important person. Yeah, we need to know what's going on in his horoscope, and I will be looking at his chart. So as far as the general picture is concerned, here is a chart for the beginning of the week. October the 30th, Monday. I've set it for Westminster in London, in other words, London in the UK, and I've set it for midnight on October the 30th. So, what are the main features? In a way, this week is going to be dominated by the full moon, which took place, which takes place today on Saturday the 28th of October. You know, when you have a full moon, its effects do linger, certainly for a couple of weeks. And so this full moon, you know, this Taurus full moon, sun in Scorpio, moon in Taurus, it's quite in a way it's quite a dramatic full moon. It was a partial eclipse, and it took place at the same time as an opposition between Mars and Jupiter. So, you know, this whole week we're going to be just very aware of differences. We're going to be aware of conflicts. Okay, some of those conflicts are going to be in the world, in the news, whether it's in Gaza, Ukraine, whatever, but also the conflicts in our immediate environment, the personality clashes around us, you know, the fact that really, in many ways, people just don't get on, and it's going to be very difficult for people to get on, I would have said, throughout the whole week. So we do have to be I think, have to be careful, and just remember that this Mars-Jupiter opposition, which is kind of baked into the full moon, is going to be tough. It's going to be sort of aggressive. People will see conflicts when there really is nothing to see. and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when people put energy into something, it will just be exaggerated, 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 and then the whole thing can blow up. Now, the first major aspect this week is actually not too bad. On Tuesday, that's Tuesday the 31st, there is a trine aspect between Venus and Uranus, Venus in Virgo and Uranus in Taurus. This aspect is probably going to be good for relationships in the sense of finding exciting relationships. If you're involved with someone, there can be some excitement, and you shouldn't have expectations about the way the other person is going to behave. Allow yourself to be surprised. And by the same token, if you're in a relationship, your own behavior might stir things up. And perhaps that's a good way of telling whether a relationship is worth continuing with. If the other person can deal with unusual, unpredictable behavior, then that might be that might be a good sign. As we move into the week, sort of on Thursday the 2nd, there is a sesquiquadrate between the Sun and Neptune. See, there's the Sun, and there is Neptune, and so when the Sun gets to about sort of 10 degrees of Scorpio, it makes a sesquiquadrate with Neptune. This could be quite debilitating. The Sun is the way we try to express ourselves. We try to show who we are. But when it sesquiquadrate Neptune, there is the possibility there for getting really confused, and for our energy to really start to be sapped. It doesn't help, but we're chasing the wrong things. We get interested in something, but is it really worth getting interested in? Or we might just sort of find ourselves being pulled down a blind alley and just getting absolutely nowhere. Then on Friday, the Sun makes an opposition to Jupiter, and this reminds us that, in a way, the major aspect for the week is a 45-degree aspect between Jupiter and Neptune. There's Jupiter at 11:05 Taurus, going retrograde, and it makes this 45-degree aspect to Neptune. Jupiter-Neptune aspects can be about fantasy. And I don't necessarily mean fantasy in a particularly good sense of the word. Being deluded. Jupiter is about how we want to expand, how we want to move forward. Neptune is a planet of fantasy, chaos, deception. And so we could find ourselves chasing things that are just really not worth chasing. We might have some kind of spiritual fantasy, believing something, having this incredible sense of meaning. And in fact, this sense of meaning is based on absolutely nothing. That sounds a bit negative. We could be positive about it. If there is anything positive about Jupiter, Neptune, it can be about genuine religious experience. If we're the right person and the right place, and yes, that is possible. But I think it's more likely to be about delusion, getting caught up in a philosophy or an idea which is just not worth it. So do be careful about that. And the fact that on Thursday the 2nd, Sun is sesquiquadrate Neptune, Friday the 3rd, Sun is opposition Jupiter, shows that the Sun is kind of picking up on that Jupiter-Neptune semisquare. So although the Jupiter-Neptune semisquare is exact on Sunday the 5th, it's probably going to have most impact on Thursday the 2nd and Friday the 3rd. So yes, there's just plenty of scope there for just chasing the wrong things. Now, I should say some more about the Sun-Jupiter opposition. So there's the Sun, 6 degrees Scorpio. There's Jupiter, 11 degrees Taurus. So you can see the Sun is moving towards an opposition of Jupiter. Could be excessive behavior. Could be just taking something too far. But it's worth considering what a Sun-Jupiter opposition really is. Because you can actually look at a Sun-Jupiter opposition in a different way. Because this chart that you're looking at here is a geocentric chart. It's a chart that's based on the Earth. You were assuming that the Earth is at the center of the solar system, which of course is not true. What if we made it heliocentric? We know that in actual fact, the Sun is at the center of the solar system, and the Earth is rotating around the Sun with the other planets. So what if we had a heliocentric chart? Let's actually look at this chart from a heliocentric perspective. So let's just switch that, make it heliocentric. It'll look rather different there. Rather more sparse, isn't it? And this circle with a cross in it is the Earth, because there's no Sun in this chart. The Sun has disappeared. Instead of the Sun, we've got the Earth. And by definition, the heliocentric Earth is exactly opposition where the geocentric Sun would be. So you can see that from a heliocentric point of view, the Earth is in Taurus and it's moving towards a conjunction with Jupiter. And so on Friday, the Earth makes a conjunction to Jupiter, which is the same as the Sun making an opposition to Jupiter. They're the same thing. But I think thinking about this aspect as the Earth making a conjunction to Jupiter is kind of useful. It helps us imagine how this conjunction might impact us. Jupiter expands everything it touches. It can also be like the detonator. You can get things building up, and suddenly Jupiter just lets it all go, bang. And so that Earth conjunct Jupiter on Friday may be a point where just everything goes. That's a point. In astrology, sometimes the Earth-Jupiter conjunction can be linked with major disasters. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be a major disaster on Friday, but I'm just pointing out that there is going to be an Earth-Jupiter conjunction. Now, this happens every year. It's not a particularly rare event, but I just think we need to know about it. And I somehow think seeing it as an Earth-Jupiter conjunction rather than a Sun-Jupiter opposition is probably useful. It emphasizes the point that something is happening to the Earth. It is moving to a conjunction of Jupiter from the sun's perspective. So let's switch back to the old coordinate system. There we go. Then, right at the end of a week, Saturn goes direct. Now, Saturn has been moving retrograde for some time. From the Earth's perspective. Now, from a heliocentric point of view, if you put the Sun in the center of the solar system, nothing ever goes backwards. Nothing ever goes retrograde. None of the planets go retrograde. They always keep going round and round the sun in the same direction. But if you put the Earth at the center of the solar system, in other words, you have a geocentric worldview, then yes, planets will go retrograde, all except the sun and the moon. Um, it will happen regularly, and so Saturn has been going direct. So it has been going retrograde. It's been going backwards back through the early degrees of Pisces, and it goes back as far as 0 degrees 31 Pisces. There, it actually almost goes back into Aquarius, but not quite. So, what does that mean for Saturn to go direct? I mean, it makes Saturn a little bit stronger. So that may suggest that we're able to rebuild our boundaries. If we've felt recently that our boundaries have got a bit, I don't know, have got a bit waterlogged, particularly in Pisces, if we found it difficult to get our act together, with Saturn going direct, we can now sort ourselves out again. I mean, that's looking at it from a positive sense. If you're one of the Saturn-ruled signs, in other words, Capricorn or Aquarius, it's probably a good thing Saturn going direct. You've perhaps had to put a lot of things on hold for the last few months. It's been difficult to make progress. And with Saturn going direct, you can actually start returning to normal. You can start moving forward with many of the things going on in your life. So yeah, so I think that is positive. But we do have to consider the point at which Saturn goes direct, and I think it was the astrologer Stephen Arroyo's. I read one of his books in the 1980s when I was studying astrology, and I've mentioned this before, but I just think it's a great way of looking at stationary direct, stationary retrograde planets. What he said was that a stationary planet is like a candle flame. When a planet is going forward, it's like a finger. It's like a finger, or backwards. When you can move your finger through a candle flame. It doesn't hurt. You can go straight through it, not a problem. But when you have a planet going stationary, when it for a time it stands still. So it's like your finger suddenly stopping in the middle of the candle flame, and it very, very soon starts to hurt. And if you keep your finger in that candle flame, you are going to get very serious burns, and you're going to have to end up in hospital or whatever, or worse. If somehow you're able to do that, you can't keep your finger in a candle flame. So that is Saturn going direct, stationary direct on that point. So we have to consider entities which have Saturn, which have a point in their charts very close to this point of 0 degrees Pisces, or perhaps 0 degrees Virgo. So let's look at some examples. Well, I've got the chart of I've got Mitch McConnell's photograph up there. So let's have a quick look at Mitch McConnell's chart. So Mitch McConnell was born on February the 20th, 1942. And he is a Pisces, Sun 26. Sun is at 126 of the sign. So Saturn is going stationary direct right on his Sun. And so for him, not just this week, but last month, next few months, it could be quite a difficult time for him. And we know that he's already been having health problems. We know that dealing with dealing with politics on Capitol Hill is hard work. If you are, um, leader of the minority party in the Senate, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of wheeling and dealing. Um, you know, is he going to be able to deal with it? Is he going to be able to handle it with Saturn stationary direct on his Sun? So we might be seeing him struggle a bit. So that is an example. Um, so another person who's got something at well, this time at 0 degrees Virgo is, look at Joe Biden. Joe Biden has got his South Node on at 0 degrees 9 minutes Pisces. So he's going to have Saturn on his South Node. Um, so what's that going to mean? I think he's going to, the nodal axis is often connected with other people, and I think he's going to have, it's going to be difficult for him to network. And of course, if you're president of the United States, a network is all about all these sort of leaders around the world who you have to deal with, you have to get on with. And so with Saturn going stationary direct on his South Node, it may be very difficult for him to make the right contacts with the people around him. We should also remember that he's got his North Node at 0 degrees 9 Virgo. This is the direction he really feels pulled towards. North Node Virgo. It's supposed to be about, his way forward is to be very well organized, to focus on the details. And this North Node is in his ninth house. When he runs his foreign policy and so forth, he has to be detailed. He has to make the most of his contacts, and that's how he's supposed to do it. But Saturn is on the South Node, and that suggests that his foreign policy may be completely chaotic at the moment with Saturn conjunct his South Node. Now, that North Node at 0 degrees 9 Virgo links up with the Sun of Ukraine. Independence, declared its independence on August the 24th, 1991. So, as I've said on numerous occasions, Ukraine is a Virgo. And it's got its Sun at 0 degrees 56 minutes of the sign. So, in other words, Saturn is going stationary direct opposition the Sun's Ukraine's Virgo Sun. The Sun is important. It's the heart of the country. Could also be the country's head of state. Could relate to Zelensky. But Saturn is opposition. Times are tough for Ukraine with Saturn opposition the Sun, and I think that maybe this week we're going to be, we may see things going on in Ukraine which make us wonder. Maybe this is, we're starting to see a general awareness, perhaps, that Ukraine is actually losing its war against Russia, and Saturn opposition Ukraine's Sun may really start to reinforce that. Incidentally, there is something else going on this week. We had it, right at the beginning of the week. There's a Mercury-Mars conjunction around 11 Scorpio. And this Mercury-Mars conjunction is actually on Ukraine's midheaven. Now, Mercury-Mars conjunction, the midheaven represents leadership. And so this is on Ukraine's midheaven. I think that Mercury-Mars, this is a time where Ukraine is going to be really frantically messaging. We're going to get some angry messaging. We're going to get messaging which I think will, which I suppose may perhaps try to sort of exaggerate its prospects, and very bellicose messaging. Um, but Mars on the midheaven, I think, on its Scorpio midheaven, at the same time as Saturn on its Sun, I think this could be difficult. This is when the war is we know the war's been going against it for some time, but I think this may be the time when it really starts to hit home. Incidentally, there is another organization which has got its Sun at 0 degrees Virgo, which was born on August the 24th, and that is NATO. NATO was ratified on August the 24th, 1949, and it's got its Sun at 1 degrees 7 Virgo. So again, Saturn is opposition NATO's Sun. So this is difficult for NATO, isn't it? Certainly, if things are going wrong in Ukraine, that would really fit Saturn opposition the Sun. So again, this is these are difficult times. So those are a few charts that come to mind. So I think I think this Saturn, this retrogrades, this Saturn going stationary direct. I think it's bad news for Ukraine. I think it's bad news for NATO. I think it's probably bad news for Mitch McConnell. Anyway, those are three sort of, I won't say random charts, because I've been sort of focusing on certainly on the Ukraine and the NATO charts for some time. But yeah, that's certainly something to watch out for. Okay, so I now want to look at the I Ching. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look. Well, I've already cast for I Ching. I've asked the question: what is a week starting on Monday, October the 30th, going to be like for those watching this video? And I threw 3 coins in the air 6 times, and I got a hexagram. So I want to look at this hexagram in a general sense. Then I want to focus on how it might relate to money, how it relates to career, and how it might relate to relationships. So the hexagram I got was this: preponderance of the great. So in a general sense, if you look at this hexagram, you see these unbroken lines right in the middle. So it's like a huge weight, and we've got these sort of handles that are really at the top and the bottom, which are not really right for the job. And it's almost like the things we are using to carry this weight are just not strong enough. It's like these sort of beams that we're putting the big weight on, and these beams are starting to bend, and at some stage they might break. So it's about a situation where we've perhaps taken on too much, or we are certainly carrying a big weight on our shoulders, and so what do we do? It's not really a situation where we can put the weight down, and I think the advice is that somehow we've got to keep moving, because that is that's the only way that we're gonna be able to get through. Now, although this preponderance of the great is a locked hexagram, it doesn't move anywhere. There is a nuclear hexagram to consider. So the nuclear hexagram means you knock out the top and the bottom line, and then you look at what you've got in the middle. You've got these four lines here. You take the top three as your top three of your hexagram, of the nuclear hexagram. The bottom three is the bottom three of your nuclear hexagram. So we get a nuclear hexagram, which is the creative. So this is raw, and this is sort of raw energy, raw creative energy. We're at the beginning. We're in of a situation where we have to take action. It is about taking the initiative, and that's what kind of underlies the preponderance of the great. The fact that we are in a position where we're trying to take the initiative, but we've got this huge load on our back, and the very structure of what we are using to carry this load is under enormous stress, and there's a danger that it just breaks. So as far as money is concerned, we have probably got a lot of expenditures. We might feel that we've just got so many things to spend money on. You know how it is. You've got just monthly payments, left, right, and centre. There's always pressure, isn't there, to take on another monthly payments. Some service that might seems a good idea, and each monthly payments might be very small. I mean, I don't know. It's like with Microsoft. Microsoft Word. You have to pay. Microsoft Office. You have to pay. What is it? $10 a month. They don't. They don't take. They don't just take a lump sum and you bought it. You have to pay them every month, and all these little payments and all this stuff. It just builds up, and we just may feel that we are just overwhelmed by our outgoings. So what do we have to do? I think the advice here is that somehow we just need to carry on. We have to carry on. We have to carry on through life with all of these obligations. And I suppose we're perhaps being told that, okay, this is a situation where we can't take on anything else. It doesn't matter how small it is. There always comes a moment that if we just take on one more monthly payment, even if it's just a few dollars, that's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. So don't take on anything else. You've done enough. You're maxed out. There is the advice. So, and if you're, I don't know, if you're running a business, it's a sort of similar situation. Your overheads are really are almost overwhelming, and you just you somehow have to keep going, but you just don't want to. You just can't take on anything else. That's it, because the I Ching does say it does tell us that it's not about putting the load down. This is the load we've got, and yes, we need to carry on with it. Now, as far as the career is concerned, I think a lot of us with preponderance of the great may feel that we are overworked. If we have a job, or we're running our own business or whatever, we may just feel that we are completely overworked, that there are so many things to do. May not just be the work itself, it may be the organization that's required. I don't know, I suppose it's not tax season, but there may be those kind of administrative things that have to be worried about. Um, and it is overwhelming, and the temptation is just to drop something, to take a pause, to have a break, to look the other way, to pretend things will go away. But no, you do have to carry on. And I don't think it's a time, for example, you might think, oh, I've got so much. Maybe I'll take a day off work or something like that. That's not what it's about. Um, the challenge is to continue. Um, I suppose it's like maybe if you've got a big weight on your back, sometimes it's okay if you can somehow keep moving, but the moment you stop, then that's the moment you can collapse. So you've got to carry on. You've got to see it through. And yes, there's a lot of work. But obviously, not to the point where you destroy your health. You need some sleep, for example. But yeah, overall, it's a lot to deal with, and you can't just stop. And perhaps you've made commitments, and with these commitments, yeah, you have to. That's the way it is. Um, and you have to perhaps reassure yourself that this is what you want. This is what you intended for yourself all along, and this is a reminder, perhaps, that the nuclear hexagram of this is the creative. It's about that creative impulse, and being creative. We wanted to start things, and we wanted to start lots of things, and in the process, we've really encumbered ourselves. But I think we have to take responsibility for our actions and accept that we've agreed to this, and for the moment we've just got to carry on. Now, as far as relationships are concerned, I suppose it's a similar picture. I mean, if you're in a relationship, probably particularly if you're in a sort of fairly new relationship, um, the relationship may feel as if it's taking up too much of your time. Um, it may be exhausting. You're having to deal with another person and their problems and all of that kind of thing. And it just may feel that this isn't what you bargained for. Obviously, you've got to do the right thing. But again, the advice seems to be that you should try to carry on a little bit longer. If you're in a relationship and you feel it's not working, particularly if it's a new relationship, yeah, it is overwhelming. And you know, maybe at times it might feel like things are reaching breaking point. So at least for this week, perhaps you should just try to persevere. See how it goes. It may be that if you can just hang on for a few days, things will start to resolve. But just right now, dealing with other people, particularly on a one-to-one level, is exhausting. But it is probably something that we have just got to do. Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about the I Ching. That's all I'm going to say about this week. And yeah, I will do another reading in a week's time for the week starting on Monday, November the 6th. So in the meantime, I just have to wish you a great week, and I hope you can deal with the challenges that may be coming your way.